Greetings, Zimbabwe, Africa, and the world. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Titan Law. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today, I'm in conversation with Kudzai Makaza, the Managing Director of Artisanal Foods, Zimbabwe. Enjoy this truly inspirational conversation. Kudzai Makaza, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
You know, I've been watching you develop. We must put it out there that I've been working with you, mentoring you over the past 2 years, 3 years.
Yes.
Do you want to tell people how we got to work together?
Yes.
Yeah.
You posted a competition to win the book True North. And your question was, how do you see yourself fitting into the Zimbabwean economy and Zimbabwe in general as a youth? And then I wasn't on Twitter because then we had exams. I was in my final year. So I just posted my response and then sent it back to you. And then my friends actually were the ones who told me that Trevor has posted you and that you won some Twitter competition. And I went, and then you had reached out and sent your email that I should get in touch with you for a book. And then fortunately, when I came here to AMH, I found you here, and then we briefly spoke about what I was doing and what I intended to do. And then you just said to keep in touch. So I waited to finish my exams for my final year at the university. And then I emailed you that I would like you to mentor me in starting a business primarily.
And it's been, for me, a very rewarding journey. The beauty about mentoring somebody, which people don't realize, is that you actually get mentored as you're mentoring somebody. So you've given me quite a lot. You're a very tough person to deal with. You are very determined. Your mind is made up. You and I have fought a number of times and disagreed on a number of things. But watching your career, for me, said we need to have this conversation. First of all, as far as you're concerned, how important is mentoring?
I think you can't do without mentoring, if we're being honest. You need guidance, because I remember actually when I emailed you, I wanted to get straight into it and say I want to start a business, and that's what I want to do. And then you said, hang on, we need to get you some sort of experience, because I was fresh out of the university. And then you, of course, you helped me getting with assistance in getting a job after school. And then I did a year. I made sure to complete a full year of formal employment. And then that's when I told you. And then looking back, I actually see that I was rushing. Had I just got into business straight from school, without some of the mentorship that we did together, I would have faced into more problems than I do, because entrepreneurship is not romantic anyway. But I would have faced a lot more challenges without mentorship. And generally, because there's no support system for a lot of youths, you do need some sort of guidance, some sort of mentorship, because at home they won't smile at you that you want to start a business. That's really unrealistic. So you then need someone who has a different perspective and who can walk you through that journey.
And I mean, you when you came to me, you were about 23. Thereabout, you're now 25, and I was impressed by the fact that you were so eager to want to get into business. just coming out of college. What degree did you graduate in, by the way? If you could just share with the viewers.
A Bachelor of Technology, honors degree in food processing technology.
Right, and then from there on, you did a couple of internships. Just talk to us about your journey prior to where you are right now.
Okay. So actually, the first internship is the compulsory, the third year internship, which I did at Kefalos, and I think that one is unmatched. In that Kefalos is a growing company. And I was fortunate enough to not be attached at a very large company. And so you get to have a realistic mind, shaped in that, a company can actually supply the nation while it's semi-automated, versus if you're to Google food factory, you'd see bottles coming out of a machine and in the package. And so you might feel watching those videos that it's unrealistic or you can't get there. Versus being with Kefalos, where it's semi-automated and things that, you come down to earth and you realize, no, you can start small and be able to create a mark for yourself. And then also...
So that gave you ideas already?
It gave me ideas. Because, and also the management, Mr. Chundu would actually leave us time once a week, just come into his office, and then we would have a discussion about things we notice that need improvement, or things we think they're doing well, or just things you notice. And so he would correct things that I didn't sort of value then. Things like I would say, why don't we use this soap? And then he says, no, in the food industry, we don't use the word soap. We say detergent. That way you know why we use a detergent, because of its mode of action. So if the detergents that we use in oil foods are different from the detergents that we use in powdered foods, so that you appreciate the language. And so I've also gone into appreciate even business language apart from food language because of him. So he was really hands-on in training us. It was me and another guy who were attached there.
So did you already there start having ideas about, do I want a job or do I want to start my own operation? Yes.
So I would come back and text my friends from school that, guys, I think we need to make our mark in the industry. We can't sit back and then go for a job. More so because working is hard. I think it's hard as compared to the reward that you get from entrepreneurship, and I feel it even worse because I'm actually doing it. So when we came back for the fourth year, I organized a group of my friends, and then our first idea was using bananas to produce citric acid. You use this microorganism, and then it feeds on the bananas to produce citric acid. And then we were doing so much research and even emailing the head of biotech department and working with the lecturer who tried to do it. And then we bumped into this report which said, done by Japan, the Japanese embassy. And then they had tried to do a similar project, and it was a feasibility study. And at the end, after reading a 10-page report, it was not feasible.
Right.
But bananas were part of that project. And so now we're looking at alternatives to starch in the food industry, so that we reduce the country's import bill in terms of something that can replace cornstarch, which we import. We import quite a lot of cornstarch, about $6 billion worth of it. And so bananas, depending on the variety, have naturally 70 to 80 starch, 80% starch in their unripened form, which then caught my interest. So I thought we can walk up to companies and tell them, you can use banana flour instead of importing cornstarch, which isn't as easy. But some are very accepting to try it out.
Tell me, take us back to your degree. Which subjects does it touch on? Just if you could just enumerate the subjects that you were working on.
Okay. So food processing technology touches on the food science aspect, the formulations, the testing for food safety, and then it also touches on food factory design and layouts. And then my university was unique in that you did a project every year for 3 years.
Is that the Harare Institute of Technology?
Yes, that's the one.
Proceed.
You do a project every year that you are at the university, except for no, it's every year. Yeah, every year you do a project. So you have to come up with a project each year, which makes you really think because the university has been open for 10 years. So most of the stuff is taken and is done, and the department will reject it. So you really have to think outside of the box. Yeah.
Okay, and after Cephalus, you then go to graduate quantity control intern at Cane's Foods.
Yes.
And you're there for 6 months. Talk to me about that experience.
So for those 6 months, they first wanted to see how I perform and how I fit into the organization and everyone else. So I was really excited that I got the job because they had been quiet for a while, and I remember texting you and saying, I don't think I got the job.
Right.
But in the interview, they were all nodding so well that I thought I got it. I usually know when I got something and when I don't. And then you said you called, you didn't reply, you called, and then you said not to entertain negative thoughts. And I said, okay. So just after you said, okay, just after you called, the following call that got in was actually the HR telling me that I got it. So the first 6 months was just them trying to assess that I fit in. And so from that, it was a 6-month contract, and I did well, I performed well. And then straight from that, they went on to give me a permanent contract as a quality control officer. Yes.
So you were a quality control officer at Cane's. You were there for 4 months.
Yes.
Talk to me about that experience.
That was very challenging because now as a quality control officer, you are in charge of a portion of the factory. The quality is in your hands, literally. And some of the old badalas that are there, number one, you are a young female who is 23, 24, and who is manning them for good quality. And sometimes they're very rigid, or sometimes they try to test you for the sake of testing you. Because I think even if you look at the industry in general, there aren't a lot of women. It's a male dominated kind of industry because of the nature of the work. And so, but in the end, I learned valuable lessons in terms of being stern, speaking up, telling them what I expect from them so that I don't get in trouble with my boss as well. And also working as a team, because at the end of the day, if they comply, I comply, we all win. And our factory was actually one of the cleanest and most compliant most of the time, compared to the other guys' sides of the factory, which is something I cherish. It was quite a great experience in teaching me how to handle different age groups of people, teaching me how to interact, and also being in a formal structure, how it all works.
And then you started getting itchy feet. You wanted to leave. You wanted to go and start your own stuff.
Yes.
And I said, no, you couldn't do that. But you said, no, you wanted to do that. Share with the audience the conversations that you and I had.
So initially, what you said is at least make sure you complete a full year, so that you have that on record that you completed a full year being at Cane's Foods. And then we continued to have the conversation back and forth, and then I told you I was ready, and we discussed it until you came to my side.
You convinced me to agree with you.
Yes,
Right.
that I was now ready, and that, you know, we divided the book in half, and then we looked at the pros and the cons of staying and then doing this on my own. And when I won you over was that giving this more time than me stealing time from the organization that I was working for means I get to grow faster. I get to focus on launching the product and making it more reachable to more people. Yeah, that's when we finally agreed, and then I handed in my resignation.
What was it that was driving you to say you didn't want to work for anybody? You wanted to start your own business. What were the factors that were influencing that conversation in your mind?
Remember, this itch was coming from third year internship, where I just needed to make a mark. So at times the idea is not very refined and you have to do research. But on this one, I was now so sure that this has to go out there, that there's people looking for such a product. And also after leaving my job, I haven't been disappointed to feel that I should have stayed, except when I handed in my resignation. And the things that my then boss said was that she admired the way I would stand up to those old men in the factory. And then I was thinking, but I could have grown here. I could have stayed here, and then...
I told you that, hadn't I?
You did. But now I don't regret it. I think it was just an in-the-moment thing where you realize, oh, I was actually doing a good job, and she was noticing. Yeah.
So, but meanwhile, whilst you're doing the good job, you didn't think she was noticing?
I didn't.
Okay. But as you walk out, you suddenly realize she was noticing?
Yes. Yes. I didn't think she was noticing. I think that's her leadership style. But after realizing that she was noticing, that's when it kind of got real that I'm leaving. And they were like the first 2 months after I left, it was kind of depressing. In that you think there's a lot of demand because you don't have the time, because you're only doing this maybe once a week. And so you think there's a lot of demand, and then you have to go and create and then teach people about the product or tell them about the product. And so the first 2 months were really slow. That it was causing a lot of regret, but not, if I'm to be honest, not regret coming from me. It was just the people around you. So how are you going to do it? Can you afford to rent a space? What do you mean? Just a lot of negativity. Yeah, a lot of
How do you handle that negativity around you? I mean, you're 25 years old.
Yes.
And you've got all these people, some of them older than you, and telling you that you're being crazy.
So initially I would sleep the whole day, and then wake up calmer. Oh, I wouldn't respond to them. If it was a text, if it was a friend or family member, I wouldn't respond, so I'd leave it there. Now I meditate. I sit, and then I calm, and then I remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. And of course now there's less negativity because they see the progress. It gets better with some, but I know that deep down my mom would still want me to.
Let's talk about your mom and your dad, because they had different views about you leaving your work and starting your own thing. How was that conversation like?
My mom would best have it that I leave the country and then look for a job. My dad, however, was more open-minded to it, given that so my dad, when I started Form 1 to 3 at Watershed College, and then he lost his job. He was CEO of an organization that was in Southampton, and then it closed down. So being in senior management, I think his mind is more open. So it's basically, it goes back to the exposure that my parents had, which is different. My mom works in the banking sector, so it's all formal. It's all she knows. However, she's slowly warming up to the idea. But I know in her heart of hearts, if I was to say, oh no, I'm going to start, like, even if the other day I was supposed to receive a call from Green Enterprise. And so the name that they use has a human resources in it. So she's like, is it a job? Because I told her.
So mom still wants you to have a job?
In her heart of hearts, yes.
Yeah.
In her heart of hearts.
But Dad is okay with what you're doing.
He's open-minded, but I also think it's the bias that I have in that normally I talk to him at length more, and so he understands more than she does. But I do try to rope them both in. They are supportive as best as they can. They let me use their car. They've let me use their house before we had a premises. She could have said, no, I don't want this, but she's tried to support me despite her own beliefs.
But you are very strong-willed, and you're very determined once you decide that you want to do something. I couldn't see any of them standing in your way.
They could have, because remember we talked about it, and I actually kept bringing up my mom because I consider some of the sacrifices that she's done. So, at times she can bring out sentiments like, I just want you guys to send me money whilst I'm sitting because I've worked hard.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that hurts. But then you told me, remember how much more you can take care of them if this is to be successful. So your statement was, look at the other side of fear. And there could be more. And genuinely there is more.
Interesting. So let's go to the big idea now. What was the idea? The one that you started dealing with when you were at the Polytechnic and Harare Institute of Technology with your friends and so forth, which suddenly gotten you into business. Talk to us about the idea, when it started, and how you've developed it. What's the idea?
The banana flour. So we're looking at an alternative to starch, how we can, make that market, the food industry. And so because it's not very easy to tell a company to change their formulation and start using banana flour because it has this much starch, we then realistically we're looking at how it's used and looking at that's the other markets like the gluten-free, the people who have celiac disease and are gluten intolerant. And so this is gluten-free, this is resistant starch, and then now we're looking at the health benefits of it and marketing it from that angle, selling it as a household flour. And then we also thought that, this could be made into a porridge, an instant porridge, which we're launching in the following months. But
so just for the benefit of the viewers at home, it's green banana flour, gluten-free, resistant starch, and it's already in the market.
It's already in the market, yes.
Okay. And you're working on porridge?
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
So we're looking at the health benefits. It's quite a long list if you look at the back of the number of nutrients that the banana has in its green form. And then because I do a lot of research, especially around World Health Organization and the food trends and FAO and I read a lot of reports from FAO. Then we're looking at the 47% stunted growth rate in Zimbabwe. It's one of the worst in the region. And the prime causes are that children from 6 months onwards don't get good quality micronutrients or vitamins. And so we thought if we could do a blend, because the green banana is very starchy, if we could make a porridge out of that and look at how we can convince mothers and parents to feed their child a more wholesome product. Because from the flour you can make a porridge, and a number of people have been using it in that way. We do post recipes on our social media pages. So people are using this as a porridge, and so we decided to just make a more instant porridge where you can just add water instead of this one, which requires a bit of cooking.
Okay.
So the stunted growth definitely showed that there's a market to be tapped in. And, there are a lot of high sugar porridge that are imported, which, contain little to no nutritional value in terms of the richness in micronutrients, even in the amount of protein that it has. And so we're really trying to cover that gap. We hope we can cover that gap in the market.
And the bananas are locally produced.
They're locally produced.
So you don't have a problem in sourcing the bananas for processing?
Not at all. We work with farmers from Honde Valley on a contractual basis. So it's a market contract where we give them a market. They give us bananas, and then we pay them at a slightly later date, and it continues to rotate like that. So so that we maintain a good quality bananas, we work very intimately with the farmers. We train them in good hygienic practices, because just recently our banana flour also passed the test. National Biotechnology helped us to send samples to South Africa to a company based in Cape Town. So it passed the tests. So, but like the emphasis was that they don't want to see pesticide residues on the skins, because they want the full banana flour. They don't want it peeled.
Okay.
So they don't want any pesticide residues. So it's important for us to work with our value chain and train them in good agricultural practices, so that we don't just demand and never tell them, train them in what exactly we require of them.
And you also have another product, Baobab fruit juice, Mawuya, with baobab water, milk, sugar. Talk to me about this.
Okay. So working in the Eastern Highlands, you meet a lot of baobab, and also because we are always researching, we work closely with Zimtrade as well. Baobab is considered a superfruit, especially in the export industry. And so COVID came, and a lot of people then knew that baobab, because of its vitamin C content and other nutrients like iron, could help in boosting the immune system. But it's not a very tasty powder. It's not a very tasty fruit for a lot of people. And so we decided to value add things that we were seeing along the way and make it into a fruit juice, which you can get all those minerals in the form of a ready-to-drink juice.
And I mean, all this has come up because you followed your passion stubbornly and said you're going to set up your company. You now have a company called Food Ovation, trading as Artisanal Foods, and you've been running now for 11 months. What has been the experience like? I mean, you've just said you're not regretting at all when you look back. What has been the experience like?
It's been a very great but also challenging experience. You know, convincing people to stock your product is not easy. And so social media has been a great partner in that some people, instead of being stocked in a shop, we can actually deliver to homes flour that's close to about 800 kgs in a month, which is almost a ton, where people just order through and then you deliver, people order and then you deliver, even the juice. So with the juices, people normally take a few to taste. And so we notice that whoever orders a few of the juices will come back and just buy the whole case because it's that good.
Oh, wow. Well done.
Thank you. And so what we were doing from August was that if you order flour, we give you free juice so that people just get to taste. So without being in a lot of shops, we're just in specialty goods stores and then a few farmers markets that happen over the weekend. We have been moving close to a ton of the green banana flour, and with the juices, because this is a very new product launched only 3 or so months ago, we've been moving close to about 120 bottles in a week, which is good for a new product, and I think we're doing well. And before the lockdown, we had companies that were inquiring, especially in South Africa, to use the green banana flour, because there are a lot of gluten-free bakeries in South Africa, to use the green banana flour. And we had only sent to Bebe gluten-free bakery. They down in South Africa. That's where we sent samples and they liked them. So the experience in terms of learning business has been difficult because I'm a food technologist, and sometimes I think like a food technologist instead of like an entrepreneur, or sometimes I rush. And I think just because I have an idea, we have to do it now. But there are processes to follow, there are things to learn, things like checks, that you start, new words, accounting, that you start to bump into. And also along the way, you lose partners because some people are there for the hey, because they want to be a part of it. But they don't take their time to understand the business or understand where you are. And so you lose partners and friends along the way.
So you're saying in the business, in the process, you lose business partners and some relationships get broken. Talk to me about that.
Yes. Number one, people have different views on where you should be going. So sometimes you get in a partner who may have the capital to get you where you want to be. And so initially, because I was very shy and to myself, I can let someone go on and on about where they want to go, and I will be in disagreement. But I'm thinking, but I need this capital, and we need to go. And then I keep quiet. So I'm sort of like, okay, fine. Until you decide to put your foot down, that no, this is not what I quite had in mind. So you learn to be stern. You learn to speak up for yourself. You learn to talk. And then you, because of some failed partnerships, you learn to introspect and realize, no, I'm not a good communicator of the vision. And so they thought they could come in and boss around and say things should be going this way. You learn people management, you learn new worlds, you learn to negotiate deals, and you acquire a lot of soft skills along the way that you might not think you would have needed. You learn to be more confident.
And you're doing that on your feet.
Yes.
Kudzai, you without a formal structure. How is that experience?
I've been fortunate enough to get some trainings, like from National Biotechnology Authority through the FemBioBiz, where they accepted a number of female entrepreneurs who are in the biosciences. And so they do train you in some of those things, but it's only theory until you get to a point where you need to use that skill. And so also about the formal structure, they told us even if you're the only one doing it yourself, you need to tell yourself, I wear this hat, the sales hat, I wear the food technology hat, I wear the marketing hat, so that when one of the hats gets too heavy, you need to hire someone. So you slowly then begin to build a structure as you go. And it requires a lot of flexibility from you, and a lot of thinking and a lot of introspection, because you take in a lot of negativity and a lot of positivity, and you just need to learn how to incorporate the advice that you're getting or what people are saying, or reflect on something that would have happened in the past.
How big is your team now?
So we're now two permanent employees and 5 contracted employees, comprising of it's only one guy, one male. Okay. The rest are all females. Yes.
And you've moved from your mom's place. You now have your own factory setup.
Yes.
Talk to us about that, the technology and so forth.
Okay. So initially we moved from home. I live in Norton, to the Norton industrial area. And then not long enough, we got an offer for a bigger space, a bigger factory space, which will allow us to also expand products to water bottling, to production of cordial juices, and the porridge, as well as continue with these products. So we're very excited to move into that new and bigger space, which we'll start using on the 1st of October.
You say that you intend to be a pioneer in the food and food processing industry, creating food processing systems of great quality. You're clearly on that journey.
Yes.
Are you happy with the progress so far?
Yes, I'm happy with the progress so far. And I'm also quite amazed at the doors that are opened once you start. Because just recently, because we were in the top 24 for the Go-Getters Entrepreneurship and the only Zimbabwean semi-finalists in the top 24, in the AGRF deal room, which was virtual this year in Rwanda, we got to have a meeting with the Nigerian businessmen who would want to see us expanding to Nigeria, value adding, because he already has a plantain farm, value adding those plantains and produce and expanding to Nigeria. So it would be it's a good perspective that which is being facilitated. It's a conversation being facilitated to see us expand to Nigeria. And then also we've been working with a South African company rather, helping us to also expand into Cape Town, also offering factory space close to the Cape Town port should we then want to export to Europe. So it has opened up a lot of doors, which I honestly wouldn't have anticipated, because our mark was just to make our goal was to make a mark in the Zimbabwean food industry. But I'm now dreaming global, because it's doable, through partnerships, through dialogue, and through conversations with other like-minded youths, and being exposed and just risking taking yourself out there.
Yes. Are you not being too ambitious too soon?
Yes.
I might sound like a naysayer.
No,
but these are conversations that you and I have had in the background.
Yes, not even. So it's good to grow at a very natural rate also.
Okay.
Otherwise it gets a little too much to chew. But ambition is good. You have to, stealing from Vusi,
yes.
You have to be patient to start small whilst thinking big, or else you won't get there, because you can't go somewhere you haven't imagined.
I know that you are hungry for knowledge. You read a lot. That must have helped.
Yes.
And I know that you're also adventurous in looking for opportunities for funding and marketing and so forth. How is that going? I mean, you now telling us about the opportunities opening up in Cape Town. When you thought you would make a mark in Zim, you're now making a mark almost in the region already.
Yes. So basically we try and research as much as possible as to the opportunities that may be open in terms of funding and even strategic partnerships, so that we do grow. And books, like you said, have been a great part of helping us, because sometimes you can't get all those people who've made it to mentor you, so you can only read. And one of those books that I've read regarding business is Rework by Jason Fried and his partner David, about thinking differently as an entrepreneur. And he says, you know, he challenges a lot of things that we hear that are romanticized about entrepreneurship. So in the book they ask questions like, why grow? You know, why grow too soon if you're doing okay where you are? Sometimes you just need to perfect the state in which you are, which makes you question, you know, a lot of impatience by a lot of people to grow too soon, too big too soon. And also, you know, he talks about things like saying no as a default setting. Your default setting should be no. Because out of all the opportunities that I've mentioned, these are just some of the offers that I've gotten, not all. There are too many as you go. It's just the minute you start your journey, the number of people that come knocking, offering money or offering this. So you have to learn to discern and for me, discernment has been through values. I now have learned to look at a person's individual values. Do they match with mine? And if they don't, then I'm sorry, we can't take your money and we can't take your opportunity.
So you're turning money away already?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't take all of it. Some of it comes with conditions that you can't handle. And even the individual who's bringing the money, their values when they don't match with yours, you might lose yourself in the business. You might lose direction, and also, you need to preserve your integrity a lot. And some people are willing to cut corners just because they have money, and you should listen to them. And I definitely don't want to cut corners. We want to do this so that we are not faulted as to how we grew, and so that we're also a story to for other young people to learn from how we did it.
So you're very clear on your mission, the vision that you have, and you're clear on the values, the partnerships that you're going to have.
Yes, which we never used to be crystal clear until you go through it, and then you realize that this you can't take, this we can take, and this is, I think this is where we want to go. So initially it's never really crystal clear, but we definitely now are seeking to grow to be a large food manufacturing company in the region, starting with the SADC region and then going to the rest of Africa. And also just to empower humans through food, like we are empowering the farmers that we work with. Because they experience, for example, the farmers, a lot of middlemen who come and shortchange them regarding the pricing for purchase of their bananas. And also, they experience people who tell them that they're going to export their products and then they never show up again. So we're very clear about our mission and what exactly we want to do.
So just be clear on this. How much did you start the business with? Do you remember?
It was my salary for. It was my salary for 4 months. 4 months savings. Yes.
So you saved your salary to be able to start this business.
Yes, not buying new clothes. I basically look like someone who wasn't working. Yes, but it was. I did save my salary. I don't remember the RTGS value then. Yeah, but it was 4 months worth of salary, and then the rest started just feeding into the things that we needed.
And now you have money coming towards you, and you're turning away some of that money. What do you say to a young person watching you right now who says things are tough? There are no opportunities. There's no money to start businesses. Well, what's your response to that?
Well, it's true that things are tough, but I think you have to start where you can start. So even if you, for example, if you don't have the opportunity to be employed and then save a salary, you can start where you can start, which you can sell tomatoes even if it's not the final business that you want to do. Because no one is going to say, hey, we're giving away money to youths. Even all the competitions that we've entered require you to be at a certain level, because there needs to be, if you have an entrepreneurial mind, you need to look at how you can get there. Look at the ways that you can get where you want to get to. Look at how you can save, where you can borrow, or what you can sell. There's always things that you can do. There are businesses that a lot of females in Zimbabwe are doing, which don't even require you to have capital, like selling Avon, for example. You get your order and then people pay you in advance and then you tell them you can deliver in a week. Those are things that you can do if you really are determined about getting to where you want to go.
You talk about competitions and you've gone into some of these, and because you have already created a pedigree and a brand of yourself somewhat, you've been able to make a mark there. For instance, you were accepted for the Women in Sciences business program in 2019. Talk to me about that. From the National Biotechnology Authority of Zimbabwe and NEPAD. That's a big one.
Yes. So they accepted 100 females, I should think, if I remember well. And we made it up to the finals. Up to the finals, we were 15. So unfortunately, I didn't win any prize from there. But they did connect me and facilitate conversations with this company in Cape Town, which
So it opened doors for you.
it's definitely opened doors, and it brought a lot of training in terms of those soft skills that I was talking about. Apart from the training, networking, because the ladies that I met there are like my primary network now. They're people I go to for advice, and we meet and we even share where we're stocking similar goods. Like one of my friends, Tracy, we always exchange. She says, "Oh, I got into this new shop. You should call her too." Then I do the same. We always share experiences about, you know, where to get packaging for, especially for an SME that can't afford 60,000 units of packaging, because maybe that's my work. That's all of my working capital. So we always exchange information. So it's open doors in terms of networks and in terms of growth, and also business skills that are essential for anyone to have.
And then you also were accepted to the Frederick Stiftung Zimbabwe Youth Leadership Training in 2018. That helped you? And you went hunting for that. They didn't come for you, did they?
No, I went hunting for that. My aunt actually sent me and she said, you should try apply for this one. And so with that one, they don't accept you unless you're doing something in your community, at your school. And then I was in the I was a school representative for the School of Industrial Sciences and Technology in the SRC committee. And so I just shared my experiences about how we did that and how I then helped facilitate the then president of the SRC to win, because I felt like he had good ideas and I knew people and I could connect him, and that's just how it happened. And so that was a great leadership training in terms of global issues, thinking outside of Zimbabwe and just thinking that there's more beyond where you are right now. It's opened my mind up. That's a great leadership training for anyone. To go to.
And then you won yourself $2,500 US
Yes.
prize money by participating in the International Labour Organization Entrepreneurship Competition. Talk to me about that one.
Yes, that was called the Green Enterprise by ILO. I applied for that one. It was basically seeking for green businesses, which comply with some of the SDGs in terms of sustainability and ending hunger. Or it was not only open to the food industry, but recycling, solar, whatever you could do. And so we applied for that. We did a few trainings. They trained us in what's the expectations for you of your business and what a green business should do. And then we went on to pitching. So you had to pitch in front of a panel of judges, quite experienced judges, all executives or entrepreneurs. You do a 3-minute pitch about your business, and also how you would use the money. And then I pitched the business and they asked a few questions. It was instead of being a pitch, I thought I would be scared. I realized I was talking about something I'm so passionate about that it ended up being a conversation. So I actually, it was a good pitch. It was one of the best pitches that I'd done.
What's the biggest challenge for you right now?
Working capital and a team and building a team. I think because I've just adopted a values approach to recruiting of a team, which wasn't something that I was doing all along. Because like I said, you get offers. I really want to help you, or I think I can just do this for you for free, and then you don't, because you are desperate to get help, you take any help that comes your way. So building a team is number one of those challenges. Building a team of like-minded people. a team, someone who can wear your dress when you're not there because they understand your vision. And that's also, the onus is on me also to communicate my vision for the organization. And working capital has been a challenge in that as a new business, you don't get paid as soon as you think you're going to be paid. Sometimes because the product is not moving as fast as you anticipated, but sometimes it is moving fast, but the retailer just will not pay you. So those, I think, are the two main challenges that I've faced, but we do try.
And when you look at what you've been able to achieve right now, and when you step back or when you go to sleep because naysayers are depressing you, how do you explain the success that you've been able to achieve right now?
I think sometimes I'm a little too hard on myself. So sometimes I go to sleep and I think, like, it's very few times that I look back and I'm like, oh my God, this is how far we came. I normally look at that month, how come we didn't move a ton in that month? Oh, it's very few times that I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful.
So you're never satisfied with where you are?
No, not yet. Not yet. It's still a baby. So I think, yeah, I'm always looking at what's the next best thing that we can do? How can we grow our reach and become better? Of course, I'm proud of the things that I've done, but I think it's very few times that I'm like, oh my God, look at, it's very few times. But I do appreciate how far we've came. I wouldn't have imagined.
And how do you explain that success? I mean, you're hard on yourself. How do you explain the fact that you've been able to come up with these products? How do you explain that?
Oh, okay, I was thinking about that last week, and then I was just looking back because I now write things that would have happened during the day. So I was thinking.
You keep a journal?
I keep a journal. So I was thinking, oh my God, I've met this person and they're no longer in my life. Should I call them fake friends? No. Should I say they were never? No. So I think God places angels, so to speak, that's what I call them, for that particular time. And when what they came for in your life is done, you move on. So I think I can explain it saying it's God who places people for a particular reason in your life at that time. And then you move on. So you don't have. I was looking back at these people and thinking, but how come we never talk anymore? Because they helped me with this. It's this God who would have done that to get you to a certain stage, and that's that. You don't have to look back, because He'll keep sending a lot of people to you. We keep meeting people who, out of the blue, will give you a very good opportunities or very good suggestions, and yeah. Honestly, to sum it up, I think it's God. Yeah.
What I know you're tough on yourself, but when you look 5 years, 10 years from now, in terms of achievement, what is it that would make you happy in terms of goals? What will you have achieved in 5, 10 years' time that would make you happy, as tough as you are on yourself?
Impact and revenue.
Okay.
But impact, we in the next 5 years, I really hope that we would be employing at least 50 people in the factory, not only in Zimbabwe, but we would have also grown regionally and be exporting a lot of our produce, not only regionally, even to Europe. This I say because also we were accepted for the Food for Export Masterclass 2020 by Zimbabwe Agricultural Development Trust, Simtrade, Netherlands, and HIVOS, where they're training 15 females in what they're capacitating us for export. So I wouldn't have applied for that had I not seen that in the next 5 years we really want to be exporters, international exporters of our products.
So your quality is already towards that market?
Yes, we make sure our products are tested before they're on the shelves.
Let's move on now to the books section, which is the Trevor Book Club. If you could share with us the 3 or so books that you've read that have made an impact. I mean, you clearly read quite a lot, apart from the journals and scientific books around food processing and food manufacturing. What books have you read that have made an impact that you recommend to your generation and others to read?
The first one I already mentioned it, which is Rework by Jason Fried. It's just a new radical way of thinking as an entrepreneur. And the suggestions are so realistic because they did it in their business. And then there is a feminist manifesto by Chimamanda, the Dear Ijia, I hope I say it right, Ijia Wale. Because as a female, generally, apart even in business, there are challenges that are uniquely female, that are there because of how people are raised, how the difference between how males and females are raised. So, even some suggestions that she has in the book, she has 15 suggestions. My favorite is to reject likability. Because sometimes, a person is saying something that doesn't really integrate with your values or who you are. But because as a female, we're taught to be nice and to be feminine, which is soft, you let them go on, yet they're doing things that, because you want to be liked. So to reject likability and to stand for who you are and to be stern, I definitely recommend that to any.
This is the small book, eh?
Yes.
Love it. Yeah. And the third book?
It's by Florence Scovel-Shinn, called The Game of Life and How to Play It. So it's a very old book. She was a metaphysicist in her time. So she sort of writes a book about Christianity and also how it comes together with metaphysics and how, you can use the laws of attraction to your advantage and take out negativity from your spirit. It's a Christian oriented book, which I recommend for Christians but it's or anyone who is an unbeliever because it's an easy to follow guide and I always go back to it almost daily because someone could make you very angry and I'm thinking, how does she say negativity will affect me again? And I go back to it and I'm like, okay, no, I should always keep my spirits high and try to entertain only positive thoughts. Yeah.
So books and reading does shape you quite a lot, eh?
A lot, yes.
I tend to sense that you have a strong message for your generation. Do you have a strong message for your generation? And if you do you want to look at that camera and address your generation in terms of your journey and the challenges and victories that you've had?
Okay, to the people in my generation, I think we should be bold enough to make our mark in the industry, not step back and let older people like Trevor overtake us in terms of thinking, in terms of innovativeness, because this is our time and the future is ours. To really just go out there and try. You will fail. It happens along the way, but to just try and put a mark in the universe, or at least in Zimbabwe. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful message. I am so proud of you. You are, you've grown so much over the past 2 years. You're so different from the young lady who walked into my office. You've achieved so much over a very short space of time. So, Kudzai, I wish you the best. I see a huge food processing empire in the region, on the continent, and I see you heading that. I wish you the best. Continue to be hungry for knowledge, continue to have values directing everything that you do. And thank you so much for finding the time to come to In Conversation. I know you're a bit not so sure, but you've absolutely been amazing, and think you've inspired your generation. So thank you so much for coming. Allow me to tend to our viewers on the continent. all across the world and in the diaspora. Thank you so much for watching In Conversation with Trevor. Remember, In Conversation with Trevor is a weekly show, and we thank you for continuing to watch, to like, and to share the conversations. For you to make sure that you don't miss out on these quality conversations, we invite you to click on this red subscribe button, and then you'll get notification every time we have these quality conversations. We also have started podcasts, and if you scroll down after the videos, you will find links that direct you to the podcast. Thank you for supporting these quality conversations. Until next time, cheers to you all.